Hallo und herzlich willkommen. Hier ist eine neue Folge von Radikal Glücklich, deinem Podcast für ein strahlendes, hoffentlich sehr gut gelauntes Leben. Ich bin Silja, Folge 196. Elena Brower on Timeless Wisdom for Raising Great Humans. After a short German introduction, there will be the interview. Ihr Lieben, ich habe heute einen sehr besonderen Gast im Podcast. Ich habe ein Interview gemacht mit Elena. Sie war schon mal hier und heute haben wir ein besonderes Thema. Elena Brower, wer sie nicht kennt, sie ist Yogalehrerin. Ich habe die Plattform, über die ich mit ihr Yoga übe, verlinkt in den Blogpost zu dieser Folge. Ich liebe das morgens. Ich übe fast jeden Morgen mit ihr im Moment. Ich liebe ihren Instagram-Account. Sie ist Künstlerin. Sie hat tolle Bücher zur Selbstreflexion rausgebracht, die Kunst und tolle Fragen verbinden. Sie meditiert auf Instagram, sie teilt so ihren eigenen Weg in die Weisheit und ich finde, das macht sie ganz fabelhaft. Große Inspirationsquelle für mich, arbeitet auch mit ätherischen Ölen, die ich ja auch so liebe. Auch dazu was im PS der Shownotes, wenn du damit starten willst, bin ich für dich da. Und heute geht es aber um das Eltern sein. Und eigentlich geht es ehrlich gesagt ums Miteinander, weil wir können als Eltern, haben wir eine besondere Verantwortung, aber alles, was dafür gilt und was wir heute besprechen, gilt eigentlich für jede Freundschaft, für jede Beziehung, habe ich danach gedacht, das gilt eigentlich für alles. Und wir sprechen über Elenas neuen Kurs. Sie hat einen Online-Kurs rausgebracht, eigentlich einen Audiokurs, also man hört wie so Podcasts von ihr und er heißt Perceptive Parenting. Und darüber sprechen wir ein bisschen. Also wie können wir unseren eigenen Weg gehen und gleichzeitig toll für andere da sein. Viel Spaß bei der Folge. Danke an Elena für ihre Zeit. Und ich hoffe, du nimmst so viel Inspiration mit und Ruhe wie ich auch. Ich habe mich nach dem Interview sehr beseelt gefühlt. Viel Freude. So it's an honor and I'm happy to have her here again, Elena Brower, with a new topic. Such a pleasure to talk with you. We're going to talk about parenting today. We are both mothers of sons in puberty, so I'm happy to gain some of your wisdom from me. And maybe you want to say something to the audience to start with, or take a breath with us, or whatever you feel like.
Yeah, let's take a breath. Put your hand on your heart. Most likely you're a parent if you are listening or watching, and I welcome you. This is not an easy job, but it's the one we took. And it's a sacred job. So please take this first moment together to have empathy for yourself, which means remind yourself that you are human, that it is extremely natural for you to feel the delight that you feel and for you to feel the pain that you feel. You are human. And offer yourself this loving, quiet attention for the next few seconds to fill yourself up with your own care. We'll take 3 full breaths together here. And slowly, as you exhale for the 3rd time, very gently begin to open your eyes and begin to relax your hand away from your heart. Feel the sweetness of your own love. It's a good way to start.
Totally. It was a perfect way to start. Perfect for our topic too. So I got some questions, but this introduction, this small little taking a breath together, leads me to a different start. Why do you think, as parents, we need to take that time to nourish ourselves? Why is it so essential for you?
Well, I've seen the results when I don't.
Me too. That's true.
I'm never as good when I don't take that kind of attention for myself. What I'm aiming for at all times is some semblance of balance, because the period of time when my son was small, when our sons were small, if you're watching your child, that period of time seems so long, but it's actually quite short. And if at every stage of the journey, you're not paying attention to what you need and what delights you and what helps you, you'll get to 13, 14, 15, 16, and it will be very challenging for you because you have not done your job, not just caring for the kid, but you've not done your job of peeling yourself away from the kid and making sure that you are still your own person. I've seen both examples. I've had a couple of really great inspirations of parents who at every stage were really for themselves. They really took care of themselves. They really knew that they had a life outside of their parenting, and they fulfilled themselves in any way that they could. And so when their kid turned out to be a teenager, they were good. They had their own life. They had a whole bunch of things that they were working on. There was no lack of connection, but they had it together. I also know parents who really just focused their entire existence around the kid. There's no judgment here. These are just two ways of doing things. But in so doing, when the kid left for college or left for work, whatever it turned out to be, wow, those parents had a really hard time, or at least one of them had a really hard time with the kid leaving. Like, what do I do now? And I think that this sort of self-care conversation to go take a bath, take a few minutes, it's not that. It's that the job, the work is to always stay connected to yourself, to know what it is that you're here to do outside of your parenting, and to be prepared for the fact that this is a finite job and it will end.
Yes, and to see that it will end. My youngest son is the only one still living at home. So I have seen two boys leave already. They're living in different cities. They're doing their lives. It's exciting to watch them. Of course, sometimes I miss them. I would love to just sneak into their apartment if they were around the corner, but I can't. Can't just knock, knock, here I am. And I see the same time that when I am not focused with a little bit of my attention with myself, I also have so much pressure on the kid. Don't you feel that too? There's so much pressure to make me happy in an unconscious way.
Yes, I actually had a couple of examples of that prior to that option in my own life. And I saw the way that played out, and I wasn't willing to go there. When people would put pressure on the kid for their life, the parent's life, to go a certain way, you have to do this in order for this. I saw myself doing it once. One afternoon, I still lived in New York, and I remember my son was not enjoying piano at all. He's an incredible player. He plays to this day. But because of this one afternoon, he still plays. I said to him, okay, I totally understand this is not the teacher for you. You're not inspired by this teacher. You do not want to be sitting here. I've seen you with other teachers and you love sitting here and playing. So let's bail on this teacher and let's figure out what to do. That was about 2 weeks before COVID.
And what happened?
So because of that, he was like, oh, wow, really?
So they gave space to breathe for him.
Big exhalation. And he started practicing there and then that day, something else that the teacher wasn't teaching him or expecting of him. 2 weeks later, we leave. the city. And I didn't get him another teacher again. And now this is 2.5 years later, 3 years later, he plays by himself. He's learning extraordinarily complex Chopin pieces and one Liszt piece by himself, because he wants to feel what it feels like to complete the mission. He doesn't have a teacher. He sounds like he's been practicing the whole time, and he really enjoys it. He gets lost in there. He has a beautiful electronic piano in his room that his dad sent. And, he puts on his headphones. I see him just get lost in it for a long time. I can just barely hear it from where I am. And wow, it's just so beautiful to see. And I remember the moment. Had I said, Jonah, you have to practice, you have to do this, it would have been for me. I just let him make his choice. And I know, it was a little sketchy at the time. Like I had it those couple of weeks before COVID happened where I was like, I wonder if I'm doing the right thing, But then the universe stepped in, I guess.
Yes, and I think that giving kids a choice, leads them to choices that fulfill them instead of learning to function in our world. So we raise more free humans. Oh, that's a great story. Okay, so do you have other little nuggets of wisdom you would be happy to share about raising humans? Maybe also for parents with smaller kids, where there's a lot of caring and also a lot of fear. As I remember my first kid, I was really young when my first son came. I was so scared to make mistakes, and I was all over the place, I think.
We all were. You have your first kid, especially if you're still in your 20s, you're kind of all over the place no matter what happens. I was 36 when Jonah was born. So I was already kind of like, I did a whole lot of different things that I really wanted to do. And I was ready to just settle into the work of it and into the joy of it. For little kids, I think one of the most important things that I was exposed to was Ina May Garten's work. Ina May's work. Ina May, I think is her name. And the many stories that she tells in her books, INAMAY. For the first basically 3 months, the kid was just strapped on to me. And I went and just did everything with him on my body. Traveled, taught privates, whatever. I just everybody around me was cool with it. I said, I'm just going to have this kid on me for the next 3 months. That's how it's going to go, because that's what I learned from Ina May. And after that, if you're watching this and you're a parent of a small kid, just please know the hours are so long and the time is so short. And do the best that you can do to continue to live your life and do your work and create whatever it is that you're creating and enjoy that. But just be for the kid for this period of time. If you miss this period, you'll kind of always be trying to make it up on the other side. And you can't really make that time up. So just be there, sink in, get down on your knees, do whatever you can do when you are present for the kid. If you're having to work, go ahead, and when you come home, just be very present for the kid. Do the things that you love to do with the kid. So if you love to knit, give the kid a ball of yarn and a few little things to play with and knit together. If you love to paint, expect a mess, lay out a big sheet that you don't care about, paint the kid. Find ways to do what it is that lights you up alongside this small person. And they will learn volumes from the way that you approach what lights you up. I would also say to the parents of the young ones, if you're struggling with keeping up your own practice, just wake up a little bit earlier. I know it's so hard to do, I was there. But I started waking up earlier than my kid, and that really made a difference in my quality of connectedness with myself because I was keeping up with my practices. At the time, it was yoga. I wasn't meditating just yet. I was keeping up with my practices and I was being there for myself, but I was showing myself that I was trustworthy enough and I was keeping my word. Oh gosh, it was so important to do that. And ultimately, that was what got me out of the throes of addiction was just waking up early, keeping up with my practice. And then I started to see how very much in conflict that was with me dropping him off at the little school there and then going home and getting high. It just didn't work. It just didn't work. It just stopped working after a while. In any case, if you are a parent of young people, one last thought for now, keep yourself, prioritize the practices in order to keep yourself super steady. They don't need you to be special. They don't need you to be successful. They don't need you to be, all over them all the time. They just need you to be steady. So if your practices help you stay steady, you can feel very comfortable in prioritizing your practices for that reason. The kids will grow up with that example. They will then, listen to this, go and look for a partner like that. They will go and look for a partner who's nice and steady like that. They won't look for a crazy person like some of us have looked for in our lives. They will look for someone who's steady. So, and I say this with all due respect. They will look for someone who's steady because you gave them an example of what it looks like and feels like to live with someone who has a steady, even keel.
That is so true. One of my teachers said we all marry our own learning program. So to evolve, we need to heal our past wounds. So we marry someone who will trigger them regularly.
Wow.
She's a good teacher.
But it's very true. It's not a joke. It's very true. And
it is true.
Yeah, I can look at that. I can see the past relationships that I've had, how they mirror some of the more volatile tendencies in my household. And the current relationship that I have mirrors literally the best of both of my parents in one person.
That's good.
Yeah. My mother likes that. It's so true. Oh, it's so true.
That's so true. Thank you for sharing. That touches me. Oh, thank you for sharing that with us. So coming back to that we are a lineage, maybe it's a good way to go here. We are in a lineage, and it's a lineage of healing. I feel like we know about epigenetics now, and we know that we all store trauma in our genes. I don't know how you say that. Genes, sorry, my English.
But sometimes a G is hard. In this case, the G sounds like a J. Genes.
Okay, genes. So we store that, and I think it is so beautiful with all the yoga and the possibilities. A lot of people, if we are privileged to have podcasts, to live in that kind of inspirational surrounding, so that we can have more access to healing if we are lucky, and can give that healing to the next generation and raise different humans. So why am I saying all this? I heard your workshop on your new program on you did a workshop, and you said empty yourself of agenda. I hope I recall that.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I felt that we have an agenda sometimes in our living too, and it is even more important. So maybe you want to talk about that. What is that? What is if we have an agenda, and what is if we can empty ourselves?
The best way that I can talk about it is it's such a silly, simple example is the whole piano thing. I had the good sense, thank God. Even though I loved his teacher, she was she was really flamboyant, and she really wanted him to go to like the High School for Music and Arts. And she was like full steam ahead. I could feel her agenda in wanting to have like a very recognized student. And then I got an agenda. I want to have a talented kid, an exceptional talent in class piano. Feel all of it rising up within me like a snake. And I thought, no way. And in that moment, luckily, I had the good sense to lose the agenda, empty myself of the agenda, thankfully. And now the agenda has come true. And even though he's not going to go to high school for music or college, I don't think, he has the capacity. Emptying ourselves of agenda, let's say it's like a moment at breakfast. I was talking to a mom just a couple of days ago, 11-year-old daughter, really having a hard time. She left me a text. I was helping her over the phone, and she left me a voice text that said, "This girl wakes up in the morning on a mission to be rude to her siblings and to me." And I was like, okay. First of all, I said, that child is not on a mission to be rude. The child is on a mission to be accepted, to be tended to be attended to be heard, seen, felt, to be loved, ultimately, bottom line, full stop. And while my friend had an agenda to have a very smooth ride in the morning, as we all do, you just pray for smooth morning. When you have kids, especially multiple children. What I explained was that she had to lose her agenda for the perfect morning, drop in with this child, and make sure she knew that she was heard and seen and felt. I said, the first thing you do is make a date for the two of you to go and do something she loves by yourselves. She's got 3 kids. Second thing is, while you're on that date, please make sure that this child knows that you care deeply about her happiness. And it's clear that there is something that is not meeting her needs, and that you are there to figure out what that is with her over time.
Oh, yes.
So the agenda for the perfect morning has to be emptied out, and we have to meet these people where they are, especially if they're 10, 11, 12. I mean, also the younger ones too, of course. I mean, anybody, even your partner. Like, how can I just meet you where you are? What can I do? How can I be of some use? What can I do? That's the hardest thing, I think, about being a parent, is emptying out again and again and again, every hour, every minute, really, and letting the kid, whether by words or if the kid doesn't have words or doesn't have the, emotional skill set yet, letting the kid speak to you via their energy and actions. You're going to know what they need. And no kid is on a mission to be rude. I'm sorry.
Nobody is on a mission to be rude, I think.
Just on a mission to be heard and felt.
Yeah, that's true. That is so true. And what is your, I think that, let me find the words. I think that sometimes when we want to empty our agenda, a part of us, our heart knows that it's the only right way, But there's a voice in our mind that says, well, I can't let that go through. We have to meet in the middle. We do compromises. You also need to step up to me. You know what I mean? That energy of who is right, and I can't be not right all the time. Like which is our ego mind, but which is hard to soften. I feel it's a daily practice for me.
It's why meditation works. Because when you sit for meditation, you face all the righteousness. Like, I know I'm right.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? If you sit every day, day after day, year after year, the moment that little thought comes up, you know exactly what to do. You have to either apologize, forgive, somehow return your attention to both the oneness and the total impermanence of the situation. We're all going to die, and lose that whole story. If you're sitting every day, you have the opportunity to lose the story. If you're not sitting every day, you don't have that chance. And so the story is like a boulder going downhill, just picking up snow, getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, you know?
Of course. That is so true.
So that's why when they say meditation is like a shower for your brain, it's really true. If you're watching this and you're like, oh, I can't meditate, I dare you. Just think of it like a shower. You would not go more than a few days without a shower. You know, your body starts to stink. You start to feel like, a little gritty, jangly even, the water going on you really helps. Your meditation is that for your mind.
And it's a muscle. We would never say, if we say we can't meditate, I often feel like it's like I can't do push-ups. I can't do 20 push-ups. Well, if it's the same, you would start with one and be proud of yourself. So I started with 2 minutes, I think, years ago. So that was...
And weights, you start with 6 kilos, you move your way to 14 and then to 20.
Yeah, I've seen you with the weights.
But it's just the same. It's just what you're saying. It's all the same. You start small, you build, and you see how it works for you.
So you also talked about conversations we can have with our child. And one conversation is to ask for feedback.
Yeah.
So I would love you to explain that a little. Why is it good? And when should we start? At which age should we start with feedback?
So I learned this from a very dear friend who had the good sense and the generosity to share this practice with me when Jonah was 3 years of age. The conversations and ideas come in module 4 of that perceptive parenting course that you mentioned earlier. And it's sort of like the capstone for the first 3 modules. Each one of those 3 modules relates to either the inner world, the world of other people, and how to sort of navigate that as a parent and as a child. And then the systems in which you find yourself. What does it mean to become aware of the entire family in a moment? What does it mean to become aware of the environment, the ecology in which you find yourself? But this 4th module, conversations and ideas, are all the things that I just couldn't find a little place for in those first 3. And they're so important. When I started asking Jonah for feedback, it looked like this. He was 3.5 years old. It was bedtime, which was always a very important time for us. And if you are a parent and there is any way in which you can get home for bedtime between the ages of whatever, 3, let's say 2 or 3 years old to, let's say, probably around 12 was when he was like, peace, mom. Okay, let's say 2 to 12. It could be different for the girls. If you can be there for bedtime, it's the best thing. I started by saying, Jonah, what could I have done better today? He's 3.5. And the first time he just looked puzzled at me. He was just like, what? What? No parent asks a child how they're doing. Like asking a kid for feedback seems crazy to our parents' generation, straight crazy. They would never do it because they're the parent and that's the child. The child doesn't know, except that the child really does know. And when I asked him and he started getting comfortable telling me, there were so many funny answers. Everything from, you were too hard on me in the store today to you could have been nicer at dinner to I wish you weren't in such a rush all the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that time. Oh, God, I wept so hard when I left his room. I wept in the room, too. I was like, God, thank you. But here's the trick, parent, if you're listening or watching. This is important. You ask the child, what could I have done better today? And then you just say thank you. You don't explain yourself. Even if you have a perfectly rational explanation that would maybe even help the kid, wait until tomorrow and just say thank you for the feedback. Thank you for telling me. How do you say, what could I have done better today in German?
Was hätte ich besser machen müssen heute, besser machen können? Was hätte ich besser machen können?
Yeah. I think it's the most important question I ever asked the guy. He's now, ginormous man, beautiful. And every now and again, I'll still ask him, is there anything I could be doing better right now? And he'll be like, no, dude, you're doing fine. And if there is something, he'll share it. He'll be like, Mom, one time, maybe a year ago, 6 months ago, he said, Mom, do me a favor. I love it when you clean my room. I really appreciate it. Would you mind not doing it when my friends are around? And his friends and I are cool. We are super cool. I someday will tell the stories of how cool we are. But I got the message right away. And I was like, oh, you know what? And when I do come in and say hello to them, I'm always kind of like tidying things. And he was like, would you mind not doing that? I was like, oh, cool. And so I stopped and he's so much happier. And what I noticed is that he's actually keeping his room a lot more tidy than he was.
Wow.
So it's just giving this particular conversation in that module is just please give your kid a voice and a choice and a way forward so that they feel like you're not some like perfect superhero, but in fact, you're a human who can communicate, who can receive feedback gracefully and implement change based on that feedback. That is a phenomenal example to leave for a kid.
Yes, and to see that we have different perceptions, and it's always great to get the perception of the child. We are doing a lot of things which we love, which we want to blossom and be happy, and to see the perception. And I think with feedback, that's also great. I don't know if you see it the same way, kind of like the almost last question, is to, when we have a night after the feedback, we can sit with that perception and we can see if we want to change and if we are willing to, or if we can do minor changes that will make our child better without loosening who we are. Because I think that also it is important for a child, for us to be there for comfort and love, and also to see that we also need acceptance and tolerance and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
You know what you mean. And I'm going to reiterate this, but in a slightly different way, to give your kid, if you're listening to this or watching, to give your kid an example of someone who receives feedback that isn't easy to receive, and then takes a little time to think about it, and then comes back a day or two later and says, you know what? here's the change that I'm going to make based on your very valuable feedback.
Love that.
I want to thank you so much again. I know I thanked you the other night, but you know what? Good for you. This is a very important piece of feedback for me. It's not easy for me, but here's what I'm going to do about it. To show them that adults, that they will someday also become an adult who has plasticity, who can make changes based on information with relative ease. That is all we need in this world. That is all we need. We need people who know how to make a change based on new information. Gosh.
Oh, yes.
I'm not even going to get into the conversation that I really want to have in this realm, but boy, can we please just get better at making changes given new information.
Oh, yeah, that is so true.
Not worrying that we did it wrong before. Like, we did it wrong. We were wrong back there. And I'm actually really excited to learn this new information so that now at least we can do it right.
That's so true on so many topics.
The world stage right now. Oh my God. And then I don't even want to get into it. I was just thinking but that could never happen because there's litigation. You know what I mean? Oh my God, let's lose all litigation, shall we? And let's just admit that we were wrong about things and move on. Yes. This is what I'm asking every parent to do. And I wish that more parents, anyway, it doesn't even matter if you're a parent, if you're a sibling and you totally screwed up, if you're a kid of your elder ailing parents even, and you've screwed up, you can apologize. You can start over. With Jonah, I even do something called the do-over that I talk about in the course too, that is so helpful. Oh my God, we go back to the scene of the crime, back to where it went wrong, where it went sideways, and we do it over. Let's start again. Let's just see how it would feel to do this thing differently. And we go back to whatever the conversation was, you should get in the shower, Jonah. And he'll be like, Mom, why are you yelling at me? And I'll be like, wait, sorry. Can I just have a do-over? Sure. Jones, we have to leave in 15 minutes and you haven't showered yet. Would you mind helping me stay on time and shower right now?
Oh, that's perfect. Great.
Oh my God, the feeling that change. I mean, even in those tiny little incidents, doing them over was so helpful throughout the course of his childhood. That's a really good one too. And one that I would strongly recommend to the parent watching.
Okay, coming to recommend things. So I already loved your Simplify course, as I mentioned in the earlier podcast we did together. So it's really
We're coming back with a new one in 2023.
Oh, I'm happy to be with it. The perceptive parenting course is online now. We can buy it and we get all the modules and it's audio based. I heard it's like listening to you on a podcast while we are maybe in the woods walking or something. That's awesome.
That's my dream, is that you're listening to it when you're relaxed. So you can really hear what I'm saying I'm never judging or thinking that I know best. What I'm doing throughout this course is offering verses from the Tao, several different interpretations through the lens of motherhood and parenting and leadership to help you see where you can reconsider how you're doing things as a parent. Just reconsider. Mm-hmm. That's it. And I love audio-based learning. It's my favorite way.
Oh, that's true. Yes, that's great. Okay. And I read that there will be quarterly or somehow meetings or something. That is so cool.
So our first one is going to be the end of December. We just set the date. I don't have it at the top of my mind, but we'll send an email out soon. Anyone who is taking Perceptive Parenting will receive that email and that information. I will meet with anyone who's in the course as a group live for at least an hour, probably a little bit longer, once every 3 months, so that we can constantly be checking in. This course is going to continue to be available to people, so you don't have to rush to get in there. But I would recommend it strongly if you're parenting of any age, a human being, from anywhere from 2 to 22, 32 even. There's wisdom in here for parents of kids of all ages. And we'll meet 4 times a year to go over questions that you have. I'll always be checking in with little surveys to see what's coming up. I'll have some guest speakers coming to our live gatherings. So I'm really excited about that. Both parents who are in the course to share their information and experience, as well as, parenting experts, authors, luminaries in the space, let's say.
That's beautiful. Okay, got the course. Great to hear some more information about it. Sounds so supportive and the right thing for what this world needs and what parents need, because sometimes we are just lost and don't feel we know we do something wrong, and we maybe lost our temper and we are frustrated because we want to be better, and that hopefully will help us. It will.
There's a whole section, in fact, on repatterning after shame stress.
Oh, great.
Oh my God. So many of us were shamed as kids. We were shamed for, peeing in the bed. We were shamed for touching ourselves. We were shamed for eating certain foods. We were shamed for liking certain people. So much shame stress. And look where it's got us. Look where it got us. Nowhere. So there's a whole section on this, because I think it's probably the most important conversation outside of, the do-over is repatterning shame stress, basically. There's been a fair amount of research showing that when we shame a kid, the part of their brain that is wired for creativity and imaginative thinking, literally the neurons that reach to connect for that creativity and imaginative thinking, instantly, if you're not watching me, I'm taking my fingertips together, all 10 of my fingertips, putting them together in front of my face. And as soon as there's shame stress, I'm pulling the fingertips away from each other. They literally just, boom. The whole imaginative brain goes into complete freeze. And all of the energy and flow, blood flow, circulation goes to the instinctive brain. How do I protect myself from this person? How do I live through this emotionally? Or perhaps actually, in certain cases, certain very sad cases of physical abuse. And so repatterning shame stress requires, and according to the research, as quickly as possible, that the two people come back together, get in connection. Even physical connection can be helpful. Like, I'm so deeply sorry that I said that. I didn't mean to do that. I am, having this kind of a day, and it was so awful for me. And then this happened, and then that happened. And I chose to blame you or shame you for something that is not yours, my child. I'm really, really sorry. And when you're ready, I'm here with a hug and a vow that this will end. That kind of behavior will end. It took me, 3 to 5 of those real shaming, patterning episodes to stop in my parenting. Someday I think Jonah will come around and, be able to talk about it with us. They'll be alive and he'll come on with me. But those were hard moments for him. It wasn't, and as I said to him at the time, it was never even about him. It was me sort of somehow unconsciously, subconsciously, getting back at someone who shamed me for the same thing, or, some subconscious, dark, fucking shadowy instinct
Oh, yeah.
And to recognize that. And I've done a lot of therapy, to recognize where that came from and what it is without blaming the source of that, but repatterning it instead. Like I said, I think it was about 3 to 5 episodes of that where it was just so painful for both of us. And then we moved on. And by the last time, I know it well, it was within the last 2 years. By the last time, we both kind of knew that it was going to be the last time something like that would happen. And it was such a relief, It was and now we are just like there for each other. He knows that I'm there. I don't overdo it. He knows that I need to know where he is, and he makes sure to stay in touch, but he doesn't overdo it. We both feel like we have our own separate lives, but we love each other and respect each other so much. And that respect has come after so many points of true hardship and challenge.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That is such a nugget. Okay, Elena, thank you for your time. Thank you for the great work you are doing and offering us. And I'm happy that you took some time for the German podcast, and happy to see you again someday.
I hope someday to learn German. I'm learning Spanish right now.
Why Spanish? No,
just Duolingo to be very helpful. But I've always wanted to be able to speak German, because I know that I have a lot of soul family in Germany. And I just want to say to you, if you're listening and you've been sort of following me for some time, or maybe you're brand new to my work, just thank you. Thank you for bringing your brain to this episode. Thank you for working through my English, my lack of German knowledge. And thank you for the willingness that you have, particularly if you're a parent, to do your best to allow this information to move you toward raising a human who has emotional intelligence and care. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And wait, there will be a little German goodbye.
Yes.
Alle, die zugehört haben, vielen Dank, dass du dabei warst. Alle Links sind wie immer in den Shownotes. Und wenn dich das ruft, dann, ich finde, das Programm hört sich ganz fabelhaft an. Dann schau es dir an. Natürlich freuen wir uns über jeden Stern auf Spotify, iTunes. Oder falls du jemanden kennst, den die Folge gut tut, dann einfach weiterleiten. Danke und bis nächste Woche.
Dankeschön.
Jawohl. Hey und pst, es gibt einen neuen Podcast von mir, der ursprünglich auf einer von mir geschaffenen Kursplattform nur zur Verfügung gestellt wurde. Er heißt Zurück zur Natur und ich beschreibe darin, wie ich ätherische Öle und Supplements nutze und was ich den Leuten, die das mit mir entdecken, rate. Wenn du also Lust hast, auf diesem Weg auch mir ein bisschen zuzuhören, dann findest du Zurück zur Natur überall da, wo du auch diesen Podcast findest. Viel Spaß beim Zuhören.